Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Brace yourselves for a gripping tale of resilience, love, and survival that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Today, we delve into the heart-pounding thriller Millie, a film that takes you on an emotional roller coaster, challenging your nerves and testing the limits of human endurance. Millie, a nursing graduate, is trying her hardest to head to Canada for college and subsequently boost her career opportunities. She works 2 jobs, trying to earn enough for her life in the Great White North. During the day, she goes to her patients' homes to administer their medications, and in the evening, she works at a fast food chain. Millie's got dreams. She's aiming high, heading to Canada, reaching for the sky. Nursing by day, fast food by night, this girl's working hard, with all her might. Millie stays at home with her father, Niranjan, and puts in constant efforts to get him to stop smoking before she leaves so that he can live a healthy life. But Niranjan, on the other hand, doesn't want her to leave. He tries his best to convince her to stay back. But since her resolution is to head to Canada, she aims to have a better life for herself and her father. Millie is a lovely yet timid girl who carries only a few aspirations, and she is determined to fulfill them. She knows for her father's health, she needs to make a lot of changes and adjustments by moving to another country, but she is also aware that it will be worth it. With dreams in her heart and goals so bright, she'll conquer them all with her sheer might. A timid soul with a spirit so bold, a life story that will forever be told. Everyone around is sad that she's leaving for another country soon. But Millie is adamant on doing so for a better standard of living. Every afternoon she attends an English class to better prepare for her upcoming journey. At work, her manager seems to be a control freak, and when she gets there a little late, she sneaks in with the help of the other employees. I wonder if her resume mentioned expert at avoiding managers? When an American compliments her English, she is beyond happy. After work, Millie, along with her father, go to watch an English movie. Since he doesn't understand the language, Millie promises to translate it, which will also help her improve her interpretation skills. As they get seated, a man next to them tries to hit on Millie, so her father decides to take her seat instead. The movie begins playing, and her boyfriend Samir silently joins them. Millie hasn't informed her father about their relationship, but Samir is insisting she does so. He keeps trying to talk to her throughout the movie, but Millie is super nervous that her father is sitting right next to her. After the movie, he follows them around the mall, and Niranjan even grabs Samir's hand by mistake, thinking it's his daughter's. Poor Niranjan, his vision's quite blurred, he mistakes Samir's hand for his beloved bird. "My daughter's grown hands," he exclaims with glee, while Samir stands puzzled. "It's just me, can't you see?" Over the next few weeks, the couple spends as much time as possible together. Samir is upset about Millie moving to another country but is aware of the fact that it is for their future that she is taking this step. Samir is the definition of a perfect boyfriend who would go miles to be a source of strength for Millie and has been nothing but supportive of her dream. Samir is also trying to find a good job so that it will be easier for Millie to ask her dad for his hand in marriage. Ooh la la, get you a man that's supportive, or become an eccentric cat person. Your choice. After work, when someone catcalls her, Samir even goes out of his way to beat him up and warn him to never step foot in front of her workplace again. Modern problems require modern solutions. One night, Millie catches her father smoking again. She makes him swear on her life to never touch another cigarette, and he proceeds to pull out all the smokes he's hidden throughout the house. Looking at this, Millie is upset and tries to guilt-trip her father into letting go of this dirty habit. Niranjan loves his daughter more than anything in this whole wide world and would do anything to see her smile. He requests Millie to let him smoke one last cigarette, and she lays in his arms while he does so. Niranjan's puffing, but Millie's not bluffing. She wants him to quit, but he's not huffing. Father and daughter, in a nicotine fight, will love conquer all? Well, it might. The next day, while working, Millie gets a call from Samir, informing her about his new job in another city. She decides to get off work early to celebrate the great news, and Samir agrees even though he's been drinking. They pray together at a temple and thank God for all the blessings he showered on them. Samir even promises Millie that he'll leave for his new job when she moves to Canada so they can spend as much time together as possible. She even decides to head back home and inform her father about her relationship, eager for his approval. On the way back, the two of them are stopped by the police for not wearing any safety gear. The cops start harassing the couple and decide to perform a breathalyzer test on Samir. Unfortunately, the results come out positive, and both of them are arrested. Oopsie daisy, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Millie's father is called upon, and police officer Vipul starts lecturing him on how girls should not be let out. This officer is a classic example of a patriarchal man who believes in moral policing more than actual policing, where he is supposed to do his job and not give out sermons on how to live life. Niranjan is shocked to know his daughter has a boyfriend, something she'd never told him about. He is humiliated that Millie's been arrested and quietly takes her back home. He doesn't utter a word to her and gives her the silent treatment despite her attempt to convey her side of the story. The classic South Asian parental silent treatment tactic. He even goes as far as to prepone her plane tickets so she can get away from the bad influence. Well, that's one way to handle family problems, shipping them off. He drops her off at her place of work where she is grilled by her boss for not checking out the fresh stock. Apparently, a mouse got in the freezer and destroyed all the food, causing a loss to the store. Saddened by the events of the previous night, Samir keeps trying to reach out to his girlfriend. But she just ignores all his calls. Millie is worried about interacting with her father after the incident. But Samir shows up at her place of work to try and sort things out, but Millie refuses to talk to him. When the manager shows up, Samir places an order to shut him up and leaves without having his food. Smooth move, Samir. Way to de-escalate. Millie is humiliated that her father was made aware of her relationship with Samir in this way. She is also upset about the fact that he had alcohol in his system and did not bother to inform her about the same, as this arrest might affect his new job, which he is supposed to join in a few days. His careless mistake makes her take a step back and focus on her career. At the end of her shift, Millie is scared to go back home, but her colleague and good friend convinces her to speak to her dad. Her friend also mentions the situation is not as bad as Millie is making it out to be. A simple conversation will most likely resolve the matter. Samir continues to call her, but Millie is adamant on solving the problem with her father first before she starts conversing with Samir again. As the manager is busy cheating on his wife, Millie decides to head back home and so she clocks out of her shift. Just as she's about to leave, her colleagues ask her to put away some of the frozen meat boxes for the restaurant inside the freezer. Ooh, I sense a terrible lapse of judgment and complete lack of self-preservation coming up. As she loads the boxes, she accidentally drops all the packages on the floor. The restaurant manager is unaware of the fact that Millie is inside the freezer as he notices she punched out just a few minutes before he did, so he shuts down the restaurant and locks the freezer, leaving Millie trapped inside. And there it is, the dumbest decision outside of investing in Enron. By the time she realizes what went wrong, it's too late. She checks her bag for her phone but realizes she left it on the counter. Millie is stuck inside the freezer and is shocked beyond words by her circumstances. Looks like Millie's dreams of moving to the Great White North just got a bit too literal. She cries out to the manager, but he's already left and long gone. Back at home, Niranjan is seen waiting for his daughter to arrive and starts to worry as it's past her usual time. He calls up her colleagues and her boss, but he claims that he isn't aware of her whereabouts as she punched out before he did. Samir has decided to leave for his new job but tries calling up Millie one last time and is saddened by the fact that she's ignoring him. Looks like Millie is giving Samir the cold shoulder. Literally, Millie initially uses the usual technique of banging the door using a heavy metal trolley, but the soundproof nature of the freezer does not help her. Her hands start to feel the frostbite, causing her immense pain. Niranjan decides to visit her place of work, but seeing that the store is shut, he assumes she's already left from there. Using her watch, she times the ending of a movie in the nearby theater. She starts screaming and banging on the door with a metal tray, but unfortunately, nobody is able to hear her. One little boy does peep into the store, hearing light banging noises, but his father carries him away, leaving Millie stranded. Niranjan looks all around the area, but doesn't find her anywhere. He even goes back to the precinct, but Officer Vipul just ignores his request to look for his daughter, claiming she must have run away from home with her boyfriend. Niranjan doesn't believe this to be the case as he knows his daughter would never do such a thing, but quietly leaves the precinct to look for her himself. At the same time, Samir has gotten on the bus and left for his new job. Millie crouches in the corner, hugging her bag and thinking of all the good times she wished she could have spent with her loving father. At least her dreams aren't as chilling as her reality right now. She decides to not give up, so she tears the clothes she has in her bag and using tape, wraps her hands and feet so that they don't freeze. Your mom's hack of using duct tape for everything finally pays off. Millie gathers strength to make sure she survives the long night ahead. Using a ladder, she tries to close the AC vent with pieces of cardboard but the flow is too strong and they keep falling off. She tries another time, but trips and falls to the floor. This causes the shelf to come down too. Millie luckily avoids it but ends up injuring her ankle in the process. When she undoes her wraps, she realizes that her ankle is dislocated. Being a nurse, she uses the shelves to place her leg in between and relocate her ankle. Hearing her screams, a little mouse comes out. She freaks out, but soon realizes the little guy is just looking for some warmth, so she helps it out by covering it up with her hands. Niranjan goes to all of Millie's friends' houses trying to find her, and when Samir comes to know that Millie has gone missing, he gets off the bus and rushes to her house. Niranjan assaults him, blaming him for his daughter's disappearance, but Samir promises him that he has nothing to do with it. He claims that he loves Millie with all his heart and would never do anything to bring her harm. Niranjan believes this and they all decide to go to the precinct to ask Officer Vipul for his help one more time. Millie keeps the little mouse in her bag and continues to look around the freezer for ways to keep herself warm. She wraps her legs with tape and uses cutouts from the cardboard boxes to keep her foot from moving too much to minimize her injury. Hungry, she finds herself a snack and even feeds some to the little mouse. She then gathers her courage and breaks off a metal rod from one of the shelves. She uses all her strength to break the AC outer guard, and then tries to jam the rod into it, but it doesn't work. The temperature keeps dropping, putting her in a very bad spot. In her bag, she finds her father's lighter and uses it to start a fire using a few pages from her book. She uses the heat to warm herself, but soon realizes it will create a suffocating situation inside the freezer, so she puts out the flame. Millie then proceeds to gather all the boxes and build a little tent for herself. She crawls into it along with a mouse and uses her father's lighter for a little more heat. At the precinct, Officer Vipul starts assaulting Samir and humiliates him and Millie. Listening to all this, Niranjan finally has enough and fights back, protecting his family from the words of such a cruel person. Listening to the ruckus, Senior Officer Satish shows up and demands an explanation. When he figures out what Officer Vipul is up to, he demands they track down her phone immediately. Officer Satish decides to jump into the case and find Millie. Niranjan, Samir, and Officer Satish split up and start looking all around the city for her. Talk about a wild goose chase. Or should we say, a wild Millie chase? A little while later, Millie realizes that the only way she survives this ordeal is if someone miraculously finds her or if she manages to stop the AC. When trying to crawl out of her tent, her skin gets stuck to the frozen floor. She forcefully pulls off her hand, which bruises her arm. When she gets out, she sees that her little mouse friend has died, devastating her. R.I.P. Mousie, you were a real G. While the others continue looking for her, Millie tries using loaves of bread to stop the fan. She then wraps her entire body with cellophane in hopes of keeping her warm and continues to throw things at the fan. Luckily, one of it gets jammed in, stopping one of the AC vents. She stacks up more bread in front of the vent to completely shut off the airflow. At the precinct, Officer Vipul gets to know of her location, but decides to not inform the senior officer as he was humiliated in front of his staff earlier. Listening to this, a drunk convict starts acting out. When Vipul goes in to set him straight, another fellow officer uses this opportunity to forward the location of Millie to Officer Satish. At the same time, Samir also realizes that Millie is stuck in the freezer after questioning her colleagues. He gets on his bike and rushes to her aid, but unfortunately meets with an accident. He picks himself up and decides to continue pushing himself to save his girlfriend. Outside the mall, the security guard recognizes Millie with a picture and informs her father that she never left the mall. By this time, Millie's core temperature has dropped so low that she isn't able to function anymore. She tries shutting off the other vent too but falls to the floor and gives up all hope. She dreams of all the amazing time she wished she could have spent with her father and boyfriend. On the bright side, at least she'll be well preserved for the open casket. Oops. Okay, maybe that was a little uncalled for. Niranjan along with other police officers look all around the mall for Millie but do not find her anywhere. Just then Samir shows up and informs them that she's trapped in the freezer. They all get together and get into the freezer, only to see Millie collapsed on the floor. They wrap her up and rush her to the hospital. The next morning, the doctor claims Millie is a fighter as there's no way an ordinary person would have survived this ordeal. She literally iced that challenge. When Officer Vipul finally decides to inform Officer Satish about the whereabouts of Millie, he gets suspended immediately. Gee, you don't say? A few hours later, Millie wakes up and has decided not to leave for Canada as she knows her life is with her loved ones. She is glad that her father has approved of her relationship, and she finally forgives Samir. Later, the security guard of the mall approaches Niranjan and informs him that even though thousands of people pass by him, the only reason he recognized Millie was that she smiles and waves at him every day, making him feel proud and happy that his daughter has grown up to be such a kind-hearted woman. That's all folks, thank you for watching. If you liked the video please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Unless you get trapped in a freezer, then you're on your own. Have a great day.